Good afternoon and welcome to Liquid Lunch with the Regional Water Authority here on 103.5 WNHH. You can listen to us anytime on the New Haven Independence YouTube page or as a podcast on Apple or Spotify. This is Kevin Watsey. I'm the Director of Public Affairs at the Regional Water Authority. I am a water nerd, and today we are going to completely geek out on water. If you are listening to this show when it's originally intended to be listened to, it's Thanksgiving week. And, while thinking about putting this show together, I had an idea that let's talk about water and Thanksgiving. If you may be wondering, well, how can we make a whole show out of water and Thanksgiving? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because a couple of years ago, we created a graphic at the Regional Water Authority that showed how much water it takes to get your Thanksgiving Day meal to your table. So I thought we're going to do a show on that. We're going to talk about all the things on your Thanksgiving Day dinner table and talk about the amount of water it actually takes to get that food on your table. If you're watching us on YouTube, you may recognize the face that's joining me. It's my good friend Steve Vitko, who's our environmental planning manager at the Regional Water Authority. I asked him to just come sit in so we could have a good conversation about this. Truth be told, he has no idea the facts that I'm going to raise, and so he may challenge me on some of them, but it should be a fun show. So today's all about food, all about Thanksgiving, and all about the water it takes to get the water to you. Get the water, all the things it takes to get the food to you water-wise. I cook every year also for Thanksgiving. Steve and I talked about this before. You like to cook, but you don't do any of the cooking, right?
This is true.
Yeah,
I purely enjoy the food that comes out from cooking, but I don't necessarily partake in the cooking of it all that often.
So I do all the cooking, and so I figured as we go down this list, maybe I'll throw out a few tips here and there. I call them tips. They're just things that I do. There's nothing fancy to them, but, whatever. So before we start, and today's show also, we're not going to do the tell us your story. We're not going to do the 5 questions because Steve has done them already. And Steve has been on the show, so everybody knows Steve. Everybody knows what his favorite hobby is.
I'll give you one thing, though.
All right.
I'll just tell the audience that apparently there's a Peruvian food restaurant right outside of the window here. So if you see us gearing more towards hungrier and hungrier towards the end of this podcast, there's a fan that's actually blowing inside, not out, and is blowing all the Peruvian food smells straight into the studio. So, mind you, we're going to be talking about food, so we may start getting hungrier as this goes on.
So the studio does smell delicious today. So it's kind of apropos that we're doing a show on food. Before we get into your Thanksgiving Day table, though, I wanted to throw out a disclaimer because I'm going to be throwing some numbers at y'all. And I wanted to let you know where those numbers come from and what I'm talking about, actually. So when you talk about water use or water footprint, there's 3 broad categories. And Steve, let me know if you've ever heard of these categories and the way I'm going to explain them. There's 3 categories that include the water that's needed to grow, raise, process, and transport food. And first is the blue water. So that's the irrigation, the drinking water for the animals, and the processing. Then there's the green water, rainwater, the natural water. And then there's the gray water, which is the water that's needed to dilute pollutants that are created by the production. For the purposes of today's discussion, Steve, we're going to be mainly talking about the blue water. So this is the water that utilities and farmers can actually manage and have control over. We don't really have control over the rainwater that's absorbed by the crops. And, if you start talking about the gray water, your numbers grow exponentially by, sometimes tenfold. So we're just going to talk about the water that it takes to get that meal to your table, the blue water. Last thing before we start, these numbers are aggregated from 3 main sources: the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Agriculture, and an organization called Water Footprint Network. So between those 3, that's where we get these numbers from. Sound good, Steve?
I have a feeling my mind's going to be blown because, once again, I have no idea what to expect from these numbers.
Yeah, so I find this super interesting. I hope you do too. So what's the most popular thing people eat for Thanksgiving, Steve? What would you say?
My first thought would be turkey.
Turkey, that's right. So we'll start with the turkey, right? And my number for turkey is based on 10 ounces. So how many gallons of water does it take to get 10 ounces of turkey to your table, do you think, Steve? Now this is the water, every aspect of the blue water
Okay.
domain. What do you
For
think?
10 ounces, not a whole turkey.
Not
for
a whole
10
turkey,
ounces.
just 10
one
ounces.
serving, we'll call that.
One serving, yeah,
One
a little
serving
more
of
than half
turkey.
a pound of turkey breast.
Boy, I feel like I'm going to be either way under
Yeah.
or way over. We're going to go with 75 gallons.
75. So you're a little over. Not too bad.
Don't you hate when people overguess?
I do, but listen, some of these I was surprised at how low it is, and others I was surprised at how high it is.
I was just expecting it's all gonna, it's for the wow factor. It's supposed to be high.
You should have said 2.
All right, we're gonna go lower then.
Yeah, so it's 40 gallons to get just a little more than a half a pound of turkey.
It's still
meat
an
on
extreme
your plate.
amount of water, though.
Yeah,
for a 10-ounce serving.
So let's think about it, right? You got this turkey, so you are raising a whole turkey. So when they come up with this number, they kind of say, how much water do you use to get a whole turkey raised and processed, and then work your magic for just 10 ounces of that turkey. So we're talking about the water, the drinking water to clean the barns, to process. But do you know what the biggest use of water to get that turkey to your table is?
My guess is the processing of the turkey.
Not the processing. No? It's food. It's the feed for the turkeys.
Oh, so the input of corn and whatever else that they're using.
Yeah, mostly corn and soy.
Okay.
So
I guess that is believable.
Yeah. So of that 40 gallons, a good percentage of it actually is to raise the food to feed the turkeys. So I do have a fact here I'm going to read. It does take a lot of water to get animal feed. So for soy alone, it takes 1 to 200 gallons to grow 1 pound of soybeans.
Okay.
For corn, it's about 150 gallons a pound.
Wow.
So remember, remember your average turkey is 15 to 20 pounds. We're just talking about
a fraction of that.
A fraction of that.
Also, you think of, not to go into a different subject, but all the use of corn and soybeans in this country alone is unbelievable. You'll find corn in almost anything. And
yes.
To hear that fact on how much water it takes to just produce 1 pound of that corn, you just think of it universally. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and think about like the flyover states, as they call them. That's all cornfields and soybean fields. And so the 40 gallons, it also includes, obviously the animal upkeep for drinking, the turkeys need to drink. And then, as you mentioned, a little bit of that is actually in the processing facilities, hate to say it, the slaughtering of the animal, the cleaning.
It's a nice way of saying it.
Yes. Right? The cleaning, the cooling, the packaging, the transportation, and all the other food safety protocols. So it's about 40 gallons for 10 ounces of turkey, which, if I said 40 gallons for the whole turkey, you'd be like, that doesn't sound like a lot, but 40 ounces just for 40 gallons just for 10 ounces of turkey. That's a lot of water.
It is.
Yeah. And, a lot of farms have their own wells that they dig, but some of them are on public water supply systems. Farms are also pretty good at recycling water when they can.
I guess if you want to think about it in a logical way, you take 8 5-gallon buckets and line them up and fill all those with, full of water, and that's what it takes.
Right. To get that little portion on your table.
Portion on your plate.
And a fun fact, about 70% of that 40 gallons, so about 28 of those gallons, is just for the food, just to feed the turkey, to grow the food. To feed
for the corn
turkey.
and the soy.
Yeah.
Right.
So now that we got turkey on our table, let's talk turkey tips. So again, you eat, you don't cook that much. One of the coolest tips that I used is when you're cooking a turkey, melt a couple sticks of butter, soak it up in cheesecloth, and then cover the turkey in the cheesecloth.
Oh, it's like a natural steaming.
It's a natural steam. It's also natural basting. You don't have to baste the turkey.
Oh, that's nice. Now, I will say, in my experience, my one time cooking a turkey, I actually gently pulled up the skin from the from like the breast, we'll say, and you actually pat like a herb butter inside so it doesn't evaporate as much.
That's tip number 2.
Oh, sorry to steal your thunder there.
Even whether you do butter or you just do seasoning, get it under that skin.
Okay.
Separate the skin from the meat.
It absorbs maybe more into the meat.
Yep. One tip, this is something I like to do, and this may be heresy for other people. Sometimes I'll butcher the turkey before I cook it. So I'll actually break it down into its parts and cook it off of the bone, and it cooks quicker, and to me it's just easier. Sometimes I'll even just buy a breast and a couple of thighs, and because there's only 3 of us in my family, so we don't need a 20-pounder.
Now another thing, and again, I don't really cook all that much, but I guess I know some things about cooking because have you ever tried spatchcocking? the
I have not
turkey.
spatchcocked.
It's
I know what it
a
is.
quicker
Yeah.
process and a more even cook as well. Which I've heard good things. Never done it myself.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't know what spatchcocking is, it's kind of breaking the back and the breastbone and kind of flattening it out so that it cooks more evenly.
Yeah.
Because a turkey can cook very unevenly. Another tip, the popper that comes in the turkey.
Oh yeah.
Don't believe it.
Really?
Yeah. So
That's all false.
you know how those poppers work?
I'm guessing they just gauge some sort of internal temperature and pop at a certain predetermined.
Yeah. So
temp?
they have a wax in them that melts at 180 degrees.
Okay.
When the wax melts, the popper goes up.
Oh, okay.
Problem is 180 degrees is too damn hot. Pardon my French. That's overcooking turkey.
Oh.
160, 165 is where you.
So, are they erring on the side of caution
Yes,
for maybe
they are.
liability purposes?
Yes, they
Oh,
are.
okay.
So get yourself a handy dandy thermometer.
They're cheap.
Test your turkey. If you wait for that popper to go, you're going to be eating
I never
dry
knew that.
meat. Yeah.
Interesting.
See?
Okay.
There you go.
No one likes a dry turkey.
Nobody likes a dry turkey. Have you ever had deep fried turkey?
No.
Neither
I've
have I.
only heard good things, but
Me too.
can't attest to it.
Yes.
I also know that they're a complete fire hazard.
I was just going to say, some of our firefighter friends may cringe at that because they are a huge fire hazard, mostly because people do two things wrong. They use too much oil. They don't account for the fact they're putting, who is it, Bernoulli or one of those the displacement theory.
That's a critical component of this whole thing. Yep.
And the second is they'll throw a frozen turkey into the oil.
Oh, the water and oil don't mix very well.
Yeah.
Right?
So if you're going to use oil, make sure you do it right. Do it out on an open patio somewhere on grass. You don't need your house burning down for Thanksgiving. So those are a few turkey tips. I do like turkey. You like dark meat or white meat?
I like the dark.
I like
a
the dark
little,
too.
a little juicier.
Yeah, the thigh. I'm a thigh guy.
Yeah.
When it comes to turkey. So what else do we have on our plate? How about some asparagus?
Love it.
All right. So if I'm going to give you 8 ounces, half a pound of asparagus, how much water? What are you thinking for asparagus?
All right. So if the turkey was 40, the asparagus is, you don't have to grow food to make the food. So you're eliminating that corn and that soy. I'm going to guess 8 ounces of asparagus, 15 gallons.
About 220 gallons.
Come on.
I swear to God.
You're kidding.
So asparagus is a perennial crop. It takes years to grow before it can be harvested, and that means it uses a lot of water.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That is insane. So yeah, it's a long-term thing. Obviously requires frequent irrigation, and one of the bigger problems is it likes to grow in dry climates, which only requires you to use more
supplemental
man-made water or well water,
right.
because nature's not making enough water.
Now, that's not one I would guess.
Yeah, it's a very very water heavy crop.
So I overguessed on one and I underguessed on the other.
Yeah.
So now we're equaled out.
You'll average out by the end, I think. The other thing with asparagus is during the processing. So it's a germ factory. It harbors a lot of things that you don't want to eat. So it's washed a lot in the processing. So even after it's picked and harvested, it's washed multiple times before packing. And then, a lot of people like to boil their asparagus. So even the gallon or two that you're using to boil your asparagus goes into this. So 220 gallons just to get a half pound of asparagus on your plate.
And might I suggest again, I don't really cook. However, I'm familiar with a sous vide, which is, for those who don't know, it's a French culinary way of cooking, and you actually shrink wrap any sort of, any sort of food you want in a bag, and then you cook it at a predetermined temperature, and it recirculates in the bag in that water temperature. And sous videing asparagus is absolutely phenomenal. You get the best, crunchiest asparagus you can possibly have.
That's a fantastic tip. I've never sous vide. I'm envious of sous vide.
Yeah, I pulled the trigger a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Used it probably, I don't know, a dozen times and never used it since.
Oh, really?
Asparagus was one of those things.
Did you ever do like a steak? This
Oh,
is
yeah.
off topic.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Because the thing is, and Steve alluded to it, you never overcook when you sous vide because you set the water to the temperature that you want your product to be at, and it just...
You can break the product down too much if you leave it in
Yeah.
too long, but you can't necessarily overcook it.
Right. So with a steak, you sous vide and then you throw it on the grill top to crust it up,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Was it good?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
But a notable one was the asparagus.
So, yeah, and you had no idea we were going to talk about
I had,
asparagus.
yep,
did you?
this is impromptu, as we mentioned.
Yeah. So my tip for asparagus is to blanch it. Do you know what blanching is?
Putting it in cold water
So
right
yeah,
after you
you
cook it?
boil it briefly,
Yep.
sets the temperature, softens it a little, then you shock it in the cold water.
Oh,
So
same
blanch
deal.
it, shock it.
Keeps it nice and crispy, maybe?
Yeah, chop it up, throw it in a salad.
Okay.
I'm not a huge asparagus guy, but if it's mixed in with other things, I'll eat it. Other people will do like a nice hollandaise sauce.
Oh, that's
with
nice.
it. That's nice. Or just a little butter, garlic, red pepper, which is the way my wife likes it.
Anything with butter.
Everything with
really
butter.
beat.
You want to be healthy, you can grill it or even broil it. There's a lot of things you can do with asparagus. So right now we are up to, just for our turkey and asparagus, we are up to 260 gallons of water.
Okay.
And we're not even close to being done yet. Steve, I'm now giving you a 6-ounce dinner roll to add to your plate. What are we thinking? To get one 6-ounce dinner roll.
We have the grains back, which would be the flour. So that's probably pretty intensive on water use right there.
Yeah.
One dinner roll.
One 6-ounce dinner roll.
One 6-ounce dinner roll. 50 gallons.
Double it.
100 gallons for one dinner roll.
Yes.
Wow.
Mainly because 1 pound of wheat requires over 100 gallons to grow.
No kidding.
And so for a 6-ounce dinner roll, you're probably using a quarter cup, which is, not a lot of flour, but that quarter cup is probably 30 gallons of water.
That's wild.
To grow that.
I wouldn't have guessed that one either. That's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, so you got your 1 pound of wheat, 100 gallons of water. You got the milling, baking, packing, that all requires water. We said we weren't going to talk about the gray water as far as these numbers, but the fertilizers and pesticides used to grow that wheat also create the need for gray water, which exponentially does increase for that dinner roll.
And we're talking one serving still.
One serving, one roll. So you go out to Bertucci's, which doesn't exist anymore. I loved Bertucci's.
Yeah,
but
that was always a great restaurant.
Yeah, you go out, they give you your little dinner rolls, or even if you're talking Pillsbury, you buy a little can, you pop it open. That's always very fun. That could even be more water because now you're talking about factories,
right? Processing,
cooling. So you're even talking more water. This 100 gallons assumes you're making it at home. You got your own flour, your own salt, all that. But yeah, if you're buying your Pillsbury or something else, it is more water than that because of the
makes sense.
Yeah, because of all the equipment and the cooling and the steaming. So a loaf of bread. Now we're not talking a roll. We're talking about a loaf of bread. It's hundreds of gallons of water to get an entire loaf of bread to your table. What do you think, dinner roll? You got any good tips for dinner rolls?
No, but I do make my own sourdough. I keep a starter in my refrigerator. I feed it every few days, and every couple of weeks I make a loaf. I haven't made a loaf in a while. I made one a couple of weeks ago, but before that, it was probably 6 months before the.
I'm so glad you brought that up, and I'm so glad I invited you.
It's sciencey,
I just the other day watched on YouTube how to make sourdough starter.
I'll just give you some of mine.
My first thought was these people are insane.
They are,
because it's to start from scratch.
We are.
What an investment in time.
Well, the key is I get starters. I got a starter from someone who works at Regional Water Authority. I got a starter from a friend up in Plymouth, Massachusetts. You get starters from other places. I only have one now, and I keep that one going. But you can feed it as little as once a month. You just need to regenerate it more.
Oh, this one said every week you got to feed it.
That's better to do. That's definitely a better protocol. But you can leave it for a while, and then before you bake, you just need to feed it a couple times before you do that process to get it back going again every day or so. And but generally speaking, you should feed it every 2-3 days.
And what do you're just feeding it flour, right?
Flour, water.
Water
with the existing starter.
So the water intensiveness now of sourdough because you're having to feed it water.
yeah. It's a small operation, but yes, it's just another factor.
So this doesn't have to do with the topic. I'm just curious. The video I watched said when you do the sourdough starter, you pretty much throw 75% of it out.
This is
every
correct.
time.
Yes.
So when you're feeding, you're taking 25%, feeding that, and chucking the other.
It's called
7.
the discard. Yeah. What I do is 100 grams, 100 grams, and 100 grams, equal parts of water, sourdough starter, and flour. And every time you feed it, you're only using 100 grams of that starter, which means you're throwing 200 grams out, unless you use it for something else.
So you can use it.
You can reuse it if it's fresh. If it's not fresh, there's not much it could do.
So if you were to give me starter, you'd give me the excess that you're not feeding,
Correct.
and then I would have to go home and start feeding.
That's
it.
why there's so many yeast starters out there, because of the fact that everyone has excess. You, instead of throwing it away one day, you can just give it to someone and they
Nice.
can start using it.
And you keep that in the fridge, or is that room temperature?
Right in the refrigerator.
Oh, it
Before
stays
I
in the
bake with
fridge.
it, the day before I leave it out on the
Yeah.
on the counter, and then the morning of when you wake up, it's doubled in size. It's pretty cool.
That is cool. And it all starts from literally just flour and water.
That's
like
it.
It just
yeah,
ferments.
and natural yeast in the environment.
Yeah, that's so interesting. See, so there you go. I didn't even know we would be getting sourdough tips today.
Impromptu.
Yeah.
I'll say it again.
All right. Big question. Are you an olive oil guy or a butter guy on your dinner roll? Like, you go out to a restaurant, they bring some rolls to the table.
It all depends on the restaurant. If I'm in an Italian restaurant, I'll take olive oil and garlic and spread that on, or dip it. If I'm somewhere else, if it's, I don't know, a different kind of restaurant, maybe a whipped honey butter type of thing.
Ah, very nice.
I like them both.
Very nice. I actually just made dinner rolls from scratch for the first time recently because my wife likes the dinner rolls, and I would always buy the can to pop. I forgot to buy the can. Since I'm a cook and a baker, I said I could do this, and I was stunned how easy it was.
Yeah, not much to it.
It's like 3 ingredients.
Yeah.
You just mix it together, throw it in the oven, and you got dinner rolls. So it was very good. All right. So what do we want on our plate next? You a potato guy?
That's honestly my favorite part of Thanksgiving is the mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes. So we're just gonna say potatoes. We can get into the 1,000 different varieties of potatoes, but 6 ounces again. So
it's just a 6-ounce potato.
That's somebody who doesn't like potatoes, because I could eat 60 ounces
of
potatoes.
Absolutely.
But assume we put one little scoop, 6 ounces of potatoes, just potatoes, on your plate. What are you thinking?
I mean, a potato, I would think, is a decent amount of water. So I'm going to say 6-ounce potato, 70 gallons.
Very close. 86 gallons.
Nice. We're starting to hone in now.
86 gallons for 6 ounces.
That's still a staggering
potato.
amount. I thought I may have overguessed that, and I was even lower.
Yeah, I mean, think about when you go to restaurants like steakhouses, they have like the 1 pound baked potato.
Oh, they're huge.
So this is
the size of your face.
Yeah, this is only 30%, not even 30% of that.
Right. Okay, so you double that, and we're easily getting to 150.
So potatoes, 86 gallons to get that 6 ounces of potatoes on your plate. Obviously, it's another very heavily irrigated plant. Another one that likes to grow in the dry states, Idaho and Washington. So now you're talking about man-made irrigation.
Also, I would guess you can't directly water a potato because you don't know where they are necessarily in the ground. I can be very wrong on that, but they're just in the ground, so you have to saturate the entire ground.
Yeah, and I would guess that's a good point. And I would guess you'd really have to monitor the weather, because you could overwater very easily if it did rain, or so you have to have more.
Someone who knows
irrigation.
about potatoes maybe can comment. And
I used to live in the Hudson Valley in New York, and I believe it or not, they're known for potatoes. I didn't know this till I moved there, but I used to ride my bike by these potato farms, and the soil was so dark. It was a very dark soil on these potato farms. So processing your potatoes into mash, chips, fries, that all requires extra washing, peeling, blanching, boiling. That is not factored into this 86 gallons. So we're just talking about getting the potato pretty much to your house. And then if you're boiling, that's obviously going to take, and the other thing is you have to, so according to my research, potatoes, you have to keep the soil moist. The second the soil dries out, the potato, the whole crop gets ruined.
Oh, really?
So, it does say you tend to overwater just because of the fear of losing your crop to underwatering.
Makes sense.
So it does say modern production is highly controlled and very water intensive. So there's your water. So now we're 86 gallons. We're over almost 300 gallons of water already to get
one
this.
Serving.
To get one serving of each of these on your table. So now let's talk. What's your favorite? You said mash? If you had one style of potatoes.
Oh, that's absolutely. I mean, we're talking Thanksgiving mashed. Any other time is just a straight up baked potato.
Baked potato.
We're talking with all the works on it.
So more than French fry?
Oh boy, I didn't even think about a French fry.
French fry.
Daily eating is a French fry, I would assume. Yeah. So I think we just discovered that potatoes are just pretty great.
Potatoes are pretty great. So
no complaints.
Here's the mashed potato tip that I will swear by. If you watch the Food Network, they all talk about this, and they talk about it because it's true. When you add your butter and your milk or your cream, you got to heat it up first. If you add cold butter to the hot potato, it messes with the starches and it makes for kind of a pasty, gummy thing. So if you warm up your cream, warm up your butter, mix that in, your mashed potatoes are going to be 1,000 times better.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's mind blown.
Yeah. And
I guess what if you start off with cold mashed potatoes?
Why would you do that?
I don't know. Just trying to stump you, I guess.
No, why would you do that? I just watched a technique on how to make mashed potatoes without boiling. Basically, you throw them in the oven like a baked potato.
Oh, I guess that would make sense. Yeah, why not?
I'm going to try that this year because then your potatoes don't get waterlogged, and so I think, and it's easier. I'm going to try that this year.
Let me know how it goes.
Yeah,
maybe you can even bring in a sample.
I could. I also like a little roasted garlic mashed potato.
Say no more.
Yeah, you
absolutely.
Just throw a bulb of garlic in some foil with some oil and let it go for an hour or two, and you squeeze it in.
Best.
Oh, it's very good. It's very good.
See how I get some free food out of this, maybe, if I can convince you in front of a ton of people.
So sometimes I'll even take my warmed butter and milk, throw it into my Ninja blender with the roasted garlic, and basically it liquefies the garlic into the milk and it mixes into the potatoes better.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, that's pretty smart.
Yeah, that's your tip for that. What other tips do I have? I have a lot of tips. So yeah, baked potato. I saw a tip that's really good to actually take your potato before you bake it and soak it in a saltwater solution for just like 30 seconds. And then just throw it on the pan in the oven, and it'll actually create a really nice skin, and that salt will actually go into the potato. Haven't tried that, but seems good.
Didn't know I'd be talking to Gordon Ramsay today.
Yeah, I like to cook. I'm a cooker. I like watching Food Network and America's Test Kitchen, and I think about these things way more than I probably should. So if you don't like potatoes, you're crazy. But if you don't like potatoes, you might opt to have some rice.
Rice for Thanksgiving?
Rice for Thanksgiving.
Huh. Can't say I've ever done it, but not opposing it.
Yeah, so 4 ounces of rice.
White rice or?
We're going to go with white rice. Long grain, white rice, Carolina.
Okay.
Uncle Ben.
Just 4?
Just 4 ounces.
I guess it's got to be huge because I think rice grows in the in almost wetland conditions, so that you have to factor that in.
You're going in the right direction.
4 ounces. We're going to go wild on this one. How about 125 gallons?
Yeah, you're not too far over. 90.
90
gallons for 4 ounces of rice.
Now, does that consider where it's grown?
Well, it considers where it's grown, and as you said, they actually grow in these rice paddies where the field is flooded.
That's why I figured it'd be a little high.
Yeah. And interestingly, flooding those fields increases methane emissions, which require water to manage the methane emissions.
Oh, okay.
But the rice production is pretty good at recycling water out of those paddies, so it's otherwise it would be a whole lot more. Because think of a huge rice field. If you're flooding it, that's a lot of water.
That's significant.
And they also say it depends on where it's grown also because of monsoon season. If they have monsoon cycles, it drastically impacts the blue water used. Obviously Mother Nature's giving you more water. It's less water you have to use because of utilities or wells or things like that. Rice uses up to 30% of the world's fresh water. 30% of the water used for agriculture in the world is used for rice production.
Wow. I know rice is, I believe, one of, if not the most universally used grain in the world.
Yes.
So that's probably the reason, but I did not know that stat.
Yeah, if you go out of the United States, you'll find folks eat rice morning, noon, and night. Like it's a staple. I had friends in high school that were from Vietnam, and they taught they would have rice at breakfast. They would bring in rice at lunch. They had rice. It was just a part of their diet.
And this restaurant next door is just pumping something into this room that
it
just
smells delicious. It's I'm sorry,
it's making
this
discussion much more difficult.
Yeah. Are you a rice guy?
I like rice. I can't say I'm going to choose it over a potato or turkey or anything like that. But prepped in the right way, absolutely. I love rice.
So I'll give you my biggest rice tip. Again, this isn't anything special that came out of my brain. Got to rinse your rice off.
Well, I do that
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, particularly for, well, I guess both brown and white. But we have a
Yeah.
rice cooker at home. We actually cook it in the rice cooker,
Oh,
which helps the
nice.
process a lot. But without rinsing it first, you actually get a lot of bubbles, and it can actually boil over.
Oh,
And
of the starch.
yeah, right.
Yep.
When you wash it, you wash that starch off, and it actually helps tremendously.
nice. So what I like to do, so I'll rinse it off, and then I'll have a pan or a pot with some melted butter and some garlic, and I throw the rice in there for about 5 minutes. That actually toasts up the rice,
Oh, nice.
and then you add the water.
Added flavor.
Yeah, and then I add boiling chicken stock to it.
Oh.
It makes
Yeah,
it-
see, rice that's obviously, I don't know too many people are eating rice just straight up. When it's amended correctly, it's unbelievable.
yeah. Yeah, the only time I'm eating rice straight up, and it's not straight up, but like Chinese food, you just get that white rice. That,
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
and that's good rice. So
Now, the rice, the way it's processed, or the way it's grown, I should say, I hope you have a stat about cranberries.
it's in here.
Okay. Because that just triggered my memory.
Yes, I know where you're going with that. And, being in the Northeast, we have to talk about
Well, I'm going up to
cranberries.
Plymouth in a couple of days.
All right,
That's
see?
where half my family lives.
There. Before
Plymouth,
we
Massachusetts, I should say. We're
So-
in Connecticut. I forgot. So I know there's a Plymouth, Connecticut. Plymouth, Massachusetts.
Plymouth, Massachusetts. Isn't there a rock up there?
There's a little rock.
There's
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
rock.
It's a big deal, apparently.
Yeah. Let's move on. We need another veggie. So right now we got asparagus. How you feeling about broccoli? Are you
Love
you're
broccoli.
You're a
Love
broccoli
broccoli.
guy? So I'm going to give you 8 ounces of broccoli.
Okay.
And so what do you think?
I would assume this is pretty high, similar to the asparagus. I would assume there's a lot of water content in broccoli. So the asparagus, I think, was around 100, over 100.
Asparagus was 220.
It was 220.
Yeah.
That was huge. I'm going to go 100.
No. Surprisingly, broccoli is not that water intensive.
Really?
8 ounces of broccoli is going to cost you 30 gallons of water.
Oh, see, I would have never guessed that.
And
I
that's
figured-
well, I'll explain why.
Yeah.
It's because of the technique they use in commercial farming. They use overhead sprinklers, and it creates a fine mist that the broccoli, it's much more. It's much better. It uses a lot less.
So
less
does the
water.
broccoli absorb?
Yeah,
Instead of absorbing through the root system, it absorbs through the
through
head?
the top. Yeah, through the head.
No way.
So yeah, we're talking 30 gallons, which is still. I mean, when you think about it, 8 ounces. That's a half a pound of broccoli. 30 gallons of water.
And you got to have to
That's
think
still
of
a
the,
lot.
12 people sitting around your table. If you have 6, 12,
Right.
or more, it multiplies very quickly.
Yeah. So, and then you got obviously your processing when you pick it. You got to clean it, and you buy these pre-washed bags of broccoli that they have now. So, so you said you're a big fan of broccoli. What's your? Do you have a
Roast.
roasted?
Yeah, pretty
Just-
much all of our vegetables in our household
Okay.
roasted. Just brings out some caramelization. It's just nice. Gives a little char, a little extra element.
See, I'm a blanching guy. I like throwing it in boiling
Okay.
water for a few minutes and then doing it that way with garlic.
Oh yeah,
Gotta have garlic and then some butter.
yeah. We do like a big tray, and we just throw all the vegetables on it. Broccoli, onions, even garlic, carrots, whatever. Throw it at 425 and let it go. Do your oil, salt, pepper, whatever, and comes out great.
I believe that's called a roasted vegetable medley.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to do a I don't know, like a potluck exchange or something like that.
Yeah,
all these
we
different cooking
should.
techniques.
We should do an RWA cookbook. I heard they did that a few years ago.
Yeah, I recall some recipes floating
Yeah.
around.
So, as my facts say, broccoli is a lighter water use vegetable, but it still needs consistent irrigation. So basically, the farmers have gotten very good at utilizing water in the right way to lessen, pardon me, the water footprint of it. Now we come to the moment you've been waiting for: cranberries.
Aha.
We're giving you 8 ounces of cranberries.
All right.
I will tell you this one's going to surprise you.
Is okay. Well, a cranberry itself, I cannot imagine needing much water. It's pretty hard.
It
It's
is
small.
small.
There's 8 ounces. And the rice was surprising.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say 40 gallons.
You're not too off. 25 gallons.
25. Okay.
So, as you were alluding to, do you want to explain how they actually harvest cranberries?
Sure. I hope I have this right.
Right.
But So my thought is that they have it in the bogs, so they create these bogs, and then they grow the cranberries, which grow at ground level. And once the cranberries are ready to be harvested, they flood those bogs out because the cranberries naturally float. They have chambers of air, and so they float. And then I believe they use almost like, we can classify them as almost like oil booms or some sort of boom structure to wrap around the cranberries and pull them to one side. And I don't know how they harvest them from there, but they basically create one big pile of cranberries and they grab them off the water.
There you go. So this one surprised me the most because I was thinking about flooding the bogs, but then I read that most cranberry farms basically reuse.
They recycle the water.
Yeah.
That's kind of my thought too.
Yeah, so they actually have tanks that, when they drain the bogs, it goes into a tank and they just use it next time. It's not like they're using tens of thousands, if not hundreds of gallons.
Yeah, it would seem super wasteful to just flush it downstream.
Wasteful. So that's why it's only 20. I mean, only 25 gallons of water for 8 ounces of cranberry.
Yeah, I can see it though, because the cranberry itself is pretty hard. It's more structurally
Yeah.
sound. It doesn't seem like it would need all that much water.
Yeah. So my facts say they also use water for frost protection. When they flood the
they'll
bogs,
lose the crop,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So that's cranberries. Do you like cranberry?
I mean, it depends how it's prepped. Cranberry sauce is great. Cranberry on its own, that's
Not so good.
not my cup of tea.
I like cranberry juice at breakfast.
Cranberry juice is
but
great.
That's about it.
I like it mixed with a little orange juice.
My only tip with cranberries is don't cut yourself on the can when you open it, because my wife likes the cranberry jelly stuff, so I just buy
too.
the Ocean Spray can.
Something about that, the jelly, I don't know what you would call it, the canned jam.
The canned jelly.
It's weird stuff, but it is great.
My wife loves that stuff, so I just buy the can.
I prefer that over the homemade stuff, to tell you honestly.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever actually touched a real cranberry.
You're kidding.
Because why would I? I don't like them.
Huh. All right. I garnish.
Garnish. There you
Garnish on a cocktail.
You want to hear an interesting garnish fact? Has nothing to do with Thanksgiving.
Sure.
In the 1980s, the largest purchaser of kale, the hyper popular vegetable right now, was Pizza Hut. They were using it for the salad bar to put basically to garnish the salad bar, not to eat. So you'd go up to the salad bar and the pizza buffet, and they would use kale to lay the trays out on.
If I had 1,000 guesses, Pizza Hut.
I know.
Maybe 100,000 guesses, Pizza Hut would not be in
Yes.
there.
They were buying it literally as decoration.
My guess is it was a lot cheaper back then,
Yes.
when it wasn't a superfood and everyone was all over it.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? I thought that I learned that fact.
I suppose it can give a
ago.
nice look to a salad bar.
Yeah.
Completely wasteful, but
completely
nice
wasteful.
look.
But if you're not doing anything else with it, why grow it? I guess would be the question.
That would be the next thought.
Yeah. So that completes our Thanksgiving Day dinner. Steve, what are you doing for Thanks? You said you're going up to Plymouth.
Yeah, I'll be spending it in Connecticut and then going up to Plymouth right afterwards. And I have family in Connecticut. I have family in Plymouth, and spending it in Plymouth just seems appropriate, actually. The first Thanksgiving, Plymouth, Massachusetts, and it's nice.
It does seem very appropriate.
Yeah. How about you?
We're just staying local, just my wife, my daughter, and I. Our family is all a few hours away, and it's easier to stay local.
Yeah.
So I'll just be, throwing some turkey parts in the oven, watching some football. Sometimes we'll do a nice walk afterwards out in nature.
Excellent.
My daughter loves the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade.
Always
so
fun.
We'll slap that on the TV. Should be nice. It's a nice time off.
Do you have a stat on how much water is used in the entire? I don't think we did the full the full process. How much water is used for one?
So let's
serving?
add it up. I'm gonna. I in my notes I forgot to actually.
While
tally
you're
all
doing
the
that, I
stuff.
guess I'll put in a plug because I'm in charge of water supply planning at the company. So it just blew my mind how much water is used for all these processes. So I guess just have that in the back of your mind. We've had a drier year in general. We're tracking right now at historic average in terms of levels of our reservoir system. However, every little bit counts. So just keep that in mind. With all the food that we're eating, all the water that it's using. Reduce the use. Don't run the water too much when you're cleaning off that asparagus, and try to conserve as much as possible.
Thank you for that public service.
Why not?
I feel like we need
I
the
figured
more
it was the appropriate time.
across the screen. It's about 530 gallons
That's
of water
staggering for one
for
serve.
one plate of food, one serving of food. About
And we
five,
all know we're eating a little bit over that. So
especially the potatoes.
yeah,
I mean, come on.
So we'll call it. We'll up it.
Yeah. And so I should have done this where it was mashed potatoes, because think of all the water it takes to get the milk or cream,
Milk,
and the
cream,
butter,
sour cream, butter,
sour cream, all that stuff.
chives.
Yeah, I mean, so your potato number is going to skyrocket once you actually start, let's face it, potato plain is boring. You got to do something to it.
Of course. It's about the amendments. It's not about the potato.
You got to add some kind of fat to it. So yeah, I mean, you're really talking a lot more when you start adding on, right? Yeah, again, turkey gravy. You use water or some kind of stock in your gravy. That's going to be more. I didn't even think about the gravy when I was putting this together. If you're making a cranberry sauce too, so we're talking just the basics is over 500 gallons of water.
So I guess when you're going around the table saying what you're thankful for this Thanksgiving, I guess throw a shout out to water in there.
Yeah, and if you're a customer of the RWA, you're paying about a penny a gallon for water. So that 500 gallons wouldn't cost you very much if it was coming out of your tap. Obviously, it's not, but I always like to throw in there what a good deal water is.
It is a good deal.
Yeah, it's about a penny a gallon. And then I always like to emphasize that's to get it from a lake into a treatment plant, treated to federal and state standards, and pumped to your house, as much of it as you want, for about a penny a gallon.
Pretty impressive, actually.
I think it's very impressive. So we are going to wrap up this Thanksgiving by the Gallon show. I want to thank you, Steve, for coming in last minute to be my foil. I thought this was a really fun show.
My pleasure. I had a good time. Actually, I learned a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I hope our listeners did as well. I had a lot of fun putting this show together. And I'm looking, if you see me looking down, there was one more thing.
I also may have gotten a free meal out of it. I think we have it on record that you're going to share with me some of your, which recipe was it? Was it the mashed potatoes?
Well, I can share all the recipes with you. By the time
I don't want to share the recipes. I want the actual product.
By the time I see you again, it's going to be like 4 days old.
That's all right.
All right, you want 4-day-old Thanksgiving meal?
Refrigerate it. Yeah.
We didn't talk about stuffing either.
We didn't.
Even if you're just doing stovetop stuffing.
Well, we know it's going to be extensive because it starts with the bread.
Starts with the bread.
So we know it's going to be hot.
And the herbs. Yeah.
So you have your veggies in there, which we learned are high. You have your bread in there, celery, starch, which is high.
Yeah. So there you go. So the long and short of it is, and the one thing I want our listeners to take away from the show, is that water does play a role in every bite of your Thanksgiving meal, and honestly, every meal that you eat, you would not have any meals to eat if it weren't for water, especially our vegans and vegetarians out there. So, the estimates we gave you capture the direct human managed water used to bring that Thanksgiving meal to your table, but just understand there's actually a whole other side to it that we didn't talk about, which is that gray water side. Which again, according to my research, we said about 530 gallons to get that plate. My research says the gray water aspect can add up to 10 times that. So now you're talking like 5,000 gallons from end to end. So with that, I want to thank you for listening to Liquid Lunch with the Regional Water Authority. I hope you have a happy and safe and hydrated Thanksgiving this week, and we'll be back with a new show in a couple of weeks. Thank you.